Hey guys, welcome back. This is another video on the Simple App series where we create simple applications using HTML, CSS, and sometimes even using JavaScript. So this one is only using HTML and CSS, where we'll be creating this responsive nav bar, where upon hovering over it, it slides in, and when you hover over each icon, the color changes, except for the top one, the background stays the same. And you can actually click on this and go back to the original page. This is just the logo, and this is the home icon, the blog, the about page, the contact page. One more plus point about this is responsive. So let me go to inspect, and if I go to something about 600 pixels in the width, the nav bar is on the left hand side, and if I reduce it to less than 600, then the nav bar goes on the top. This is for mobile devices which have a width of less than 600 pixels. And I've just a random content out here I've just taken off the web. We'll be also creating this different scroll bar which has a different color from the normal ones that you have in all websites. So without any further ado, let's jump into the video. To start off, first we'll create a folder. We'll go to folder and we'll call this as a responsive Nav Bar. And I'll open this with Visual Studio Code. Once you've created the folder and open it with Visual Studio Code, you can straight away go and create the required files. So I'll create one HTML file and one CSS file. Yeah, now I have both my files here. To start off with HTML, we'll just do the basic body using Emmet abbreviation, and we'll call this document as responsive Nav Bar. And I'll also connect the CSS file to this using link CSS, and you can just give it /. So for this we'll be using fontawesome. So you can go to Google and you can search fontawesome and you'll have fontawesome.com. You can go there. What I did was I signed in and I have an account out here. So you can also do the same. You can sign in and have an account over there. And once you sign in, you will get a link, like a script tag, which you can use in HTML. So the script tag will look something like this. So you can use this. I'll copy this and put it in the description. You can use that too, or you can go ahead and create your own account and you can get this. So this is the fontawesome link, and this is what I'll be using majorly out here. So for the nav bar, first off, we'll go and use the nav tag in HTML, and I'll give it a class of nav. So nav.navbar. Yeah, now that's the nav bar, which is the main tag, the whole thing which is going to be there, which is responsive. And inside the nav bar, I'm going to have about 5 items. One is the logo, one's the home page, one's the blog page, one's the about page, and one's the content page. So all of these 5 pages will be connected so that the nav bar has links to them that you can do later. But these are the 5 icons that I'm going to be using. So I'll put them in an unordered list. So you can do ul.navbar items. So which means that unordered list will be created with the class name as navbar items. You can go inside there and I'll create the list items. So li, and I'll have 5 items. For the first item, I'll call the class to be logo. This is the logo of it, which I'll be inserting. And inside the li, for what I'll have is, when I click on the anywhere in the list, I should be directed to somewhere. So I'll use the anchor tag for that. I do a tag and I'll give this a class of nav link. You can just leave it as it is because this is a logo and I don't want to go it anywhere when you click on it, just for showing there. So that's there. I'll just leave it as it is. And inside the a tag, I have 2 things. One's the icon and one's the text. For the text, we'll use span tag. So we'll just call it span. And this is the first tag. So I'll call it as link text. And this will have 2 classes. One is the link text class and the other specific for this alone, which is logo text. Text of the logo. Yes. And this one will be coding. Okay, that's simple. Now the icon which I'll be using, I'll go to fontawesome, go to the icons, and I'll be using the right arrow. So you go to arrows and you can see arrow right. So I'll start using this icon. So you can copy this, which is the I tag, which has a class. So I'll just paste it here, but this arrow, I'll just put it in 3x. So it's like 3 times the original size of it, because I'll show it to you how it looks. Okay, we'll open it with live server. And we'll keep this inside, both beside each other. So you can see the size is not that big. So I'll increase the arrow size to be, and in fontawesome, the easiest way to do it is by adding another class called fa3x, which just makes it 3 times the original size. So yeah, this is done. We have the logo. Next, we'll go ahead and add 4 more contents. We'll start off with the first one being, we'll give this, actually I'll just remove these 2 because the ones are similar, the class and all. I don't want to repeat that. So I'll just make it as class and I'll give this nav item. That one was a logo, so that was different. This is separate items, and each one of them will have an anchor tag and they'll have asterisks, and the class of this will also be nav link, and each of the 8 tags will have a span text and an eye. So the span text, I'll just give it a class of link text. We don't give the logo text for this, and I'll just keep it there. And this is for home. And similarly, we'll go to again fontawesome, and in the icons we'll search for home. You can choose the free one which are there. That's pretty easy to use. You don't have to pay anything or anything of that sort. So we'll start using these icons. We'll copy this and we'll paste it here. And similarly, we'll keep this size to be also 3x. And if you see, I'm going to just repeat this for the rest, for blog, for contact, and about. So 1, 2, and 3. So this one's for blog, this one's for about, and this one's for contact. For the blog, I have used a pencil kind of icon, so I'll just do that. We use pencil kind of icons, easier to use for a blog. So you can use pens called, it's like this, which has a color to it. You can just look at this icon which says FA pencil alt. So you can just copy this majorly because everything is going to be the same. So you can go out here and change it. This is for pencil alt alternative. And once you save it, you can actually see how it looks. See the pencil kind of icon which says that this is for writing. So for about, I chose users. So it's like as 3 people. So it's like a company is working, so you want to get to know about them. So I thought FA users would be perfect. So I'll just go out here and write this as users. And you can see there's a difference. I've got 3 people there. And for contact, what I did was I just did ID card. So you have this kind of effect, which is this simple ID card right there. So if you look at this account, it says FA-ID-card. So instead of this home, I just put ID-card. Now you save it, close this, and you have the nav bar. That's what it looks. So this is about the nav bar. I've done the whole thing. Now, since I want the nav, now this is the nav bar part of it, but we don't want it to be just shown like this. We want some text also alongside it. So what I did was I went to Google and I just took some Wikipedia information from somewhere else to about web development. So I just put the heading one as web development, and paragraphs I put web development about it using some break tags, some line breaks between them and all of it. So this is about it. So once I save it, you can see I have the content of the development and I have the nav bar list items. That's it from HTML. Now we'll be focusing on CSS. Now we'll just go ahead and start do the CSS, and that's it from the HTML part. So let's jump to the CSS file. Okay. Before we start off, we will set some variables in CSS. So it's easier to access these particular, like for example, I want this color. So I don't have to like each time just remember this particular hashtag. I can just remember the variable name and it's easier to use. It's just like any other place. So first off, we'll go ahead and write the variables. To write the variables, we use the root element. So we put root, and out here we'll set the font size, the font family, and the variables. So we'll put the font size to be around like 24 pixels, and we'll give a font family. You can give whichever one you want. I will go with Gill Sans. So I've saved it there. Next, we'll go ahead and we'll do the variables. Whenever you start with the variables, what you usually do is you give 2 hyphens and then you give some text and then another hyphen and another text. That's how variables are usually designed. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to set 2 colors for the text. So we'll start off with variables, and for the variables there'll be two things. One's the text color and one's the background color. And text color, there are two types. So I'm going to name first one as a primary and second one as a secondary. And the variable rules, as I told you, we start with 2 hyphens and a small word. So I put it as text, another hyphen, and I'll put it as primary. And you can give it any color. I'm going to go with this kind of color, which is like a slight grayish kind of color. So that's the color I'm going to go. And next is the text secondary. This is the next color which is there. And this is similar to the previous color. It's a bit different when you write it in hash code. See, it's darker one, this is a lighter one. So that's the text colors. Next is the background color. And even for background, I'll have two colors. One's a primary and another one's a secondary. So I'll do this. Background, primary. And we'll go to do it as 2E. Yes, that's the background color which we'll give. Next is the background secondary color. And this one's going to be a bit different. 1414118. Yes, that's the background secondary color. Okay, I haven't used it here, but it's just variables I've set. Another is the transition speed. I want the transition speed to be set to something, so I'm going to do that. So let's see, transition speed. That's a variable, and we'll set it to 600 milliseconds, which is like 0.6 seconds. And next we'll go ahead and we'll set the body color and the colors of it. So for that, what we'll do is body, and we'll set it to color of black and a background color of white. And we'll give a margin of 0 and a padding of 0. Yeah, now you can see the scroll bar of the browser. It's not something that, it's this. Now you can see the scroll bar of the browser. That's something which every website will have. So let's make it unique to our website. So that's what we're going to work with right now. We're going to work with the scroll bar first. So for the scroll bar, how do you go ahead is, since it's the body element, and in CSS you have something called as a WebKit, and that's how you're going to work with the scroll bar. So you do hyphen WebKit, another hyphen, and you give scroll bar. So that's the scroll bar. And I'll set the scroll bar's width to be something like around 2.5 rem. So there's a width to the scroll bar. It does not have a color yet. So we'll go ahead and we'll give a color to the scroll bar. So there's like a background color and the stick color. If you see, let me show you once again. Yeah, when you look at this, there's a color for the background of the scroll bar, and there's a color for the main scroll bar. This is a darker gray than this one, and when you press on it becomes even more darker. So we're gonna change that a bit. So first we'll start off with the width, and next we'll again do that using the WebKit icon. We'll do scroll bar, and we'll use the track, and we'll give it a background. Background of like hashtag 1E1E24. Yes, now that's like a darkish gray color, and the width is like smaller than the usual one. You can increase this and you can keep the width, like let's say 4. So that's a bit thicker and people can see it. That's also fine, up to you. And you can do again. Now we've set the background, but now we want the user to have a different color when this part of the thing is scrolled bar is working. Like initially there was a light gray in the background and the thing was gray in color. What we are going to do is, we are going to give this up, as you can see, it's like a brown black mix, and we're going to give the main scroll bar thing a purplish color over there. We'll do the dash WebKit dash scroll bar dash thumb. That's what that's called as. The whole thing is called as a track, and the main thing is called as a thumb. And we'll give it a background of hashtag 6649B8. That's like a violet purplish color. Okay, now you can see there's a difference. It's not like the usual one. I don't know how many websites will have this, but there'll be really few because we are the only ones. So that's the difference out here. And now we are done. Sorry. Yes, this is the scroll bar. We are done with the scroll bar. Next, we'll go ahead and we'll give some elements to the main content we have here. So whenever the nav bar is there, it does not look like this. The main content starts from the top and the nav bar sits in the side or on the top, so that there's only space for the nav bar. So since this is like a hover kind of element, we are going to put the nav bar on the left hand side. So web development should start from the top. So for that, we've got to give just the top padding a bit. So we'll give a padding of it to be 1 rem, like around that much. And we'll keep the margin from the left hand side just a bit towards the screen. So that's what we're going to do. Main. And first we'll give the padding of 1 rem. And once you save it, there's like some gap from the top and some gap from all the sides. And we'll give a margin left of 5 rem. So it's like moved inside. So basically in this width, which you have this 5 rem, that one more rem which is there. But in mainly the 5 rem is where the nav bar is going to sit. Next we'll go ahead and we'll position the nav bar. And we've put the nav bar to be a class of nav bar. So we'll say dot nav bar. And the position we want it to be fixed. We don't want it to change. Like as you scroll down also, the nav bar should be shown there. So that's one main thing. And now we'll give a background color. Here's where you'll use the variable. So for using the variable, we use var and we'll give it the primary background. So in var and in parentheses, you give background primary. Save. Okay, now you can see the position has been fixed. So this means that the text can go on top and put it there. And we've given a background, the primary color of a dark gray, black kind of mix. Next, we'll put the width to be only 5 rem. So you have this, like the text is there and then there's 1 rem gap and then you have the main content. The nav bar, 1 rem and then the main content. Now we have set the width to be 5 rem, so it covers how much of space it was given. And now we'll set the height so that it covers the whole page. We'll put it as 100 ph, which means view height. Once you save it, you'll see the background colors applied to the whole thing and it stays fixed. Now what we want is a transition, like when you hover over it, we want a transition to take place with the width, and the transition should be like not a rough one, a smooth one, like it moves in, moves out, that smooth one kind of effect. So we say transition and we want a transition with the width. We'll keep it to be about 600 milliseconds, it's like 0.6 seconds, and we'll put it as ease. You won't see a change here, but once you like work with the hover and all of the CSS, you will see the differences. Now we'll go ahead and we'll style each of these items out there. So let's do that. Nav bar. What we are going to style it is, we'll start off with just removing whatever was present. We put the items in a list, so we just remove that list style and put it as list style is equal to none. So once you do it, the bullet points are removed. So that's another one. We'll give the padding to be 0 and the margin to be 0. So we have it sticking to the left hand side. Now we want it to be responsive. Like even if you shrink the screen or change it to any other device, we want it to be in the same kind of display effect. So we'll put it as display and we'll give it a flex effect. And I'll give a flex direction to it so that the web browser doesn't confuse it and has like a perfect thing. It's in column and we'll align the items to be center now. And height of each of the items, we'll give it at 100%, whatever the height is. We fixed it to be 3 times the original size, we'll just leave it as it. Now we'll go to each of these items and we'll say the width to be 100%. So we just let it be like whatever it was. Nav item and the last child. What I want to do is this contact page should be in the bottom. I just want the coding, home, blog, about, and the contact should be in the bottom. So for that, what I'll do is I'll give the margin top to be auto. Now it comes to the bottom and it stays there. Now we'll give a hover effect. So when you hover over it, what I want to do is from being 5 rem, I just wanted to like increase it to like 10 or 11 rem. That depends on your text, like whatever text you're going to put out here, like it should fit, like all the text should fit there. So I put it to be 10 rem. Now what we're going to do is we're going to give some animation to these icons. So you have a bit of like when you hover over it, there's some effect. When you go to a specific icon, there is some effect over there. So we'll do that now. Now first thing would be nav links, which would be these, like the A tags. So we'll start with them. We'll put their display to be flex. We'll align the items to be center. So they are in the center. They are not like earlier you saw them below the text. So now we just leave them at the center, and you have the display flex out there. We'll give a height of 5 rem. So there's like space between each of these elements, and we'll give a color. We'll use the text primary color, and that's the bar. So text primary, you have a slight gray color over there, and we'll remove the underlines because it's a anchor tag. So you by default get an underline in HTML5. We'll give some filter to it. How we do that is we give filter and you see the grayscale to be 100%, and we'll give an opacity of 0.7. You can change that, but you can leave it as 0.7. That works. So there's like a bit of a gray out there. Now this filter, you'll see when I hover over it, I'll change the filter of that, and I'll do a transition out there, and we'll use the transition speed which we had. So if there's like some effect coming in, like it takes some time to come in and do the transition. Now when you hover over it, what I wanted to do is change the color. Like when you hover over the whole thing, it doesn't change. When you hover over specific items, it should change the color. That's what we're going to do with the filter. We'll set the grayscale to be 0% and the opacity to be 1. So now when you like hover over it, there's like a change in the color, and we'll set the background to be the variable of secondary color, background secondary. So now when you go over this, you can see like when you hover over the whole thing, the nav bar slides out, but when you go to specific items, the background changes, and I'll also change the color. So to do that, what I'm going to do is, since all of them are I tags, I just go to the I and I'll say the color to be some color, with whatever color you want. I'll just do dodger blue. So let's say I go to them, there's like an effect there. Leave this one because the background is not set to the whole thing. You can see like the blue color comes into the elements, so that time it's like you're hovering over it, and there's a background also. Now we'll work with the link text. You must have seen in the start that I didn't have the names like coding, home, blog, unless and until I hover over it and I see the text. So for that, you do display none. So I'll put as link text, and I'll say the display to be none. So there's no display there. When you hover over it, we'll show it. That will work on soon. And we'll leave the margin left to be 1 rem. You'll see it when I show the text once. So now we'll work with the logo out here, the arrow mark. So for that, what we're going to do is we have put the logo as a class of dot logo. So we'll work with that. So we'll say dot logo, and we'll give a font weight of bold. Although you can't see the text, you'll see it once I make it visible. So the text transform, I want everything to be uppercase. So that's there. And then we'll give a margin bottom to be 1 rem. So it's like different from the rest. We'll align the text to be center. And we'll give the text a variable of text primary and the background of background secondary. So now we'll go ahead and we'll increase the font size to be around like 1.5 rem, and we'll put the width to be 100%. Yes. Now the whole thing is covered, and the background, even if you hover over it, it like stays there. So you know that this is different from the rest because that's the logo you want to give. You can change this logo, you can give it something else, but I've just kept it as an arrow mark. And one thing which I want to do is for the eye, I want to rotate it. So now we just put it at 0 degree. Whatever this thing is, leave it at 0 degree. And I want the transition to be a variable of transition speed. sorry about that. Let's keep as transition speed. Now we'll work with the text. You can't see the text, but you will see it once I do it. So what I'm going to say is display it inline, so it just stays where it is. Does not change much. And we'll put the position to be absolute. So that's the position. And I'll keep it as a left of -99 pixels. What I'm going to say is Navbar hover the logo. So when you do that, like you go to the logo, it does not have to be on that icon, but when you navbar hover over it, that time I want the logo's eye. What do I want it to be changed is, I want to transform it. I'll say rotate 180 degrees. I'll save it. So let's say you go in here, the code changes. So you go in here, it's like you close this, so that's what you have to do. So to open it, you can go anywhere, it will change, it will just rotate. That's what you want it to happen. So here we are to the last thing. We will make this nav bar responsive so that you can see it in any kind of screen. In big screens like the computer, you'll have it on the left, and smaller screens you'll have it on the top. I hope that works perfectly fine for you. So whenever you're doing a responsive, you use the media tag and you do media screen and your max width to be 600 pixels. Now this is for smaller screens, and we put the min width for larger screens. So first we'll work with the larger screens. So now we'll start off with the nav bar, and I'll give the nav bar to be a top of 0. These are some basic things which you did earlier, but I just want to make sure that it sticks to the context. Now when you do your hover effect, this is over the link text. Whenever you hover, I want the link text to be displayed. That's one thing which you have to keep in mind. So the texts are displayed, but the logo is not yet. So what we'll do is we'll do nav bar hover. First we'll work with the eye and we'll move it inwards. So what we'll give it as the margin left of around 7 rem. We'll save it. So when you press it, it moves inwards. Because you should keep in mind, this is really important, because what we're doing is we're just leaving these things as they are placed. But out here, the 7 rem, we are moving it aside, and that has to be like around 3 or 2 lesser than whatever you put your hover effect of your nav bar. Like I put it to be 10 rem, so I've just reduced it to like 3 rem, so I've kept it as 7. Now when you do navbar hover dot logo text, that time I want it to be displayed. So we'll do left of 0 pixels and you save it. You go ahead, the text is displayed. It's like there's a transition. It moves in like that. It does not just show it there, and that's why I've used the variable called transition speed. So you can go ahead and check the code in the GitHub by clicking on the link in the description, and you will be able to see what all I have done if you haven't understood. Now we'll work with for smaller screens. Like this is a big screen, right? Let's say if I go to F12, this is a small screen like Pixel 2 or any other screen which is lesser than 600. So if it's lesser than 600, it's like too much. It's not good like having like this. So I'm going to make this come on top. So even when you hover over it, the text is not like shown, like you don't have this nav bar like visibly showing to you, like expanding. So for that, what we'll do is first we'll put the nav bar in the top, and we'll give the top of 0, and we'll give it a width of 100 view width, and we'll give it a height of around 5 rem. So it goes on top. Now you'll have to move these icons also to the top. So first dot logo, and we'll keep the display to be none. Next, Navbar items. We just change the flex direction from column to row, so it goes on top. Yeah, you have it on top. Next is the Nav link, and we'll keep it as justified content center. And one more thing, we have put it on top. We'll just make the main item. We'll just give a margin top of like 6 rem, and the rest is 0. Actually, this should be in the bottom. So how CSS works is whatever comes latest is what gets applied. So we give the margin to be 0, and we give the margin top to be 6 rem. So it's like push down. You can actually put it at 5.5, so you don't have that much space. Okay, now you can see that. So as you increase it, the text is there. You don't have the logo because I don't want the logo. I just left it there. So as you can scroll, the nav bar stays there. So for now, that's it from me in this video. Thanks a lot for watching, and if you have liked this video, do give it a like, and if you want more such content, do consider subscribing, and commenting it and saying positive comments really helps me a lot so that I can learn stuff. And thanks a lot for watching.